steps that we're going to be doing. Okay, so initially, I mean, everybody comes into this class with different levels of familiarity with Photoshop. So I can't make a one-size-fits-all video, but I can give a couple of general guidelines. Um, so I'm just going to take a brush and show you kind of what's going on here. This is just a 1920 by 1080 document, which is a little bit small. It's actually very small for print resolution. Um, but most of the stuff that I do personally is for display, and so these proportions are very familiar to me. Um, so your illustration may be more vertical, it doesn't really matter. So what I'm going to do initially is I've got my background layer, it's white, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this icon here and create a new layer. I'm going to call this one Guide. All right. When you're doing, even when you get more experienced, it's always good to have a naming convention for your layers. It keeps you busy. It can really slow down your workflow if you don't do it. You don't remember where you are and things, especially when your files get like 30 layers deep. All right, so I can create a brush stroke here. All right, and since it's on a separate layer, I can hit the V key or the Move tool up in this top toolbar here, and I can move this independent to the background. That's the only advantage here. Something that, even if you do have some experience with Photoshop, you may not realize is that if you hold down the Shift key, you can draw a perfectly straight line, which is kind of a nice tool for doing these kinds of guidelines. So I'm just going to create a little box here, and this is for this is just for my sketches. All right, using the eraser there. Okay, so now I can move this around, but the advantage here is that I can hold down the Alt or Option key and the Shift key at once, and I can constrain this. I can duplicate this layer out, constrain to an axis, and create a grid of thumbnail boxes. Okay. The next thing I can do is I can select all of these. I can right-click on them and merge them. All right. There's really no reason to keep them all on separate layers. I just want to have one guideline layer. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to hit Alt and Shift and move these all down. And then I can right click and merge down. Okay, so now I've got my guidelines. And it says guide copy. I can change that or I can, whatever. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a layer underneath. Okay, and if you can move your layers wherever you want. Just literally click and drag and you can put them in order. But I want my sketch layer, sketch, to be underneath my guide layer. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my brush. I'm going to select black, and this will be to create my sketch, whatever that sketch may be. If I've got a rock here and some sort of sea or something like that, I can just create some. There we go. All right, so this is evocative. It doesn't have to be perfect, whatever. So I can create a couple of different sketches, and maybe I try this, maybe I try maybe a shot more like this, where I've got the rock here, and maybe the horizon is more prominent, so I see more of the sea behind it. And so there, let's fill that in as my rock. So you can go through and you can start to think, and this is the advantage of that thumbnail process, is you start to be able to think in iterations and inversions, and you really can't see the whole picture until you've done a few of these. So once you get this done, as you can see, everything is on a discrete layer. They're separate from one another. I can take my sketch, use my lasso tool, and I can move this one. If I just, for some reason, I wanted this one over here, it's just the lasso tool and the move tool, and there you go. All right. So, deselect. The last thing, once you're done with one of these, I actually skipped a step here. The guideline layer, I like to lock it just so that I don't wind up drawing on it. So now if I go to the guide layer and I try to draw, I can't. You can see the icon. I have to go to the layer that's unlocked, and now I can do my drawing. Okay. Once I'm done with a step, I lock it so that I can't mess with it. I don't want to mess with my sketches when I'm doing my value studies. So I'll create a new layer, and I'll call this one value. Okay, and now I can create a set of value, and it's not going to interfere with the sketching I've done. All right. so I can get in a real quick tonal view, a look at how the tones are going to play together. Sorry, with my screen capture, this sketch tool is slowing down way too much. But I can get a good sense of the kind of weight that I want this image to have. Okay, and so maybe I want the water to be darker than the sky. That might not actually always be the case, but it is here. So I can start to get a real quick look at how this composition is going to come together with these layers in place. All right. Once I turn my screen capture off, this will get much better. But yeah, so the idea is that you create these. The tool is really just there so that you can work more efficiently. So basically, with any kind of software tool, you want to learn just enough so that it can get out of the way and you can concentrate on the creative. So these discrete steps, these layers, should be able to help you stay organized so that your thoughts can come out more easily.